My name is Brianna Sinclair. On my channel, I post mostly transgender content. If you like my content, please like, comment, subscribe. You can follow me on my Discord, my X account, and I also have a Blue Sky account. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. This is my 65th week on HRT. Quick measurements update. My hips are 36 and a half, my bust is 37 and 3/4, my waist is still 25 and a half, which I'm a little surprised about because my breasts have been really hurting recently. So I'm a little surprised my bust measurement didn't increase a little bit. And my waist, I still haven't gotten my waist trainer yet, so I'm kind of happy that that didn't go up anymore. I'm kind of waiting to get my waist trainer so I can get accentuate my hourglass figure a little bit more. But that's pretty much that. Let's see, my emotional state. I think my emotional state, for the most part, I would consider stable. I'm very quick to sadness and anxiety and anger. Surprisingly, very quick on those. I don't understand why. I guess it's just me standing up for myself and not a little bit more and not kind of taking as much from other people. I'm able to say no pretty effectively when I want to, and yeah. So yeah, I do get angry, and even as a kid, if I was angry at something, it was never okay with me. I held grudges. And I don't know. Whenever I get angry, usually I just get really petty as well. So every little win is a big win for me. So it is what it is. Hair growth and reduction. Reduction and growth. I am ecstatic that my hair is growing so significantly slower since I'm on HRT. I'm so unbelievably happy because beforehand it was insane. I would shave literally almost every day. I still get notifications in my phone reminding me to shave every other day, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I think. And it was so bad because Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays I would be covered in just red bumps from razor burn and stuff like that, and gosh, it was so bad. It was so bad. And then I get little ingrown hairs and stuff. Now it takes so long for my hair to grow that whenever I shave, I'm sure I may have the red bumps for maybe a day sometimes. Honestly, the red bumps don't really come as often anymore. And it's just the time is so significant to me that I have this extra time in order to enjoy myself as feeling more feminine, feeling softer, and just kind of just being me. I have noticed as well that my skin's kind of gotten softer from start to finish, which I think is a little weird, but it's I think what causes it is your adipose tissue and your skin starts to develop a little bit differently, and that honestly kind of makes me a little happy as well. It's just I feel softer, and if you've been with me for a little bit, you know I have like a thing for like soft things. Um, I'm not sure where that comes from. It's more of like a comfort issue. I think it's like, I like warm environments, like blazing hot showers, soft environments, and I absolutely thrive in the water. And it's just me, I guess. Oh, shoot. Breast growth. Like I said before, I am surprised that like my breasts didn't like grow a little bit this week, just because they've been hurting so excessively recently, like especially at like the areola portion, and they're still like pretty firm and solid underneath. It feels like there's like this mass underneath there, and that's kind of what I feel. Like at first it was like a pretty solid disc, and now it's kind of like, it's a little bit more bulbous. It's still a disc shape, but it's not as flat. Initially, like, I was freaking out initially at first because I thought that like my breast growth immediately jumped me into like the development of like breast cancer, because I had like this solid mass developing on my chest, and I knew that the odds of us getting like breast cancer went up to that of a cis woman's, but I didn't quite know like what it felt like for breasts to develop and stuff like that, because it's not like whenever like we go through puberty, like all the girls are like, hey, this is what this feels like here. It's not like that. That's pretty disgusting. But as like they developed, they started to hurt, and like because they would hurt, like I would clutch my chest and kind of feel like, oh, there's something there. And then as I like did like investigate it a little bit more, I would kind of freak out a little bit. Well, not freak out. I would just kind of like hoped that it would be normal, and like if it wasn't, then I would take a little bit different approach, I guess. I don't know, it was scary for me for a little bit, and then like whenever I started to like, I got the courage to ask, and they're like, yeah, that is exactly what you're going through. Your boobs are developing, and I'm like, oh, I'm so thankful I do not have cancer. I was so relieved and happy because I had hoped it was exactly what I hoped for. But I think they're still growing, they're just dropping a little bit, and I kind of know this because my ex-wife was transgender, and like whenever she got her first breast augmentation, they would sit really high and then they would drop into a more natural placement, I guess. And I think that's kind of what's going on, is like they're growing a little bit and then dropping because of the weight, and my rib cage is a little bit smaller there, so it's like any growth I'm getting, because I measure like across my back and across like my areola or nipple portion, and that is my measurement. So if they're dropping but still growing, like that measurement is still going to be the same. And that's kind of what I think is going on. That redistribution, I haven't really noticed anything yet. At least not this week. I have noticed that like my butt's filling out a little bit more, and so are my hips. I'm actually gaining a little bit in my midsection, so there might be a little hope that I get to have like a BBL one day, which would be nice, be incredibly painful, but it'd be nice. I hear that is the most painful of the gender affirming surgeries, other than SRS. SRS is in a tier of its own for many reasons, but between breast augmentation, FFS, and BBL takes the cake by far as like pain tolerance. From what I hear and what was discussed with me by my ex-wife. I don't know. I can't wait to get my new waist trainer again, just to kind of like help compress this in a little bit. And once I get like my business all set, like stable and squared away, I'd like to go to the gym a little bit more, and I'd like to develop out my body, my butt, and my hips. I guess I just kind of like want a really good like body I can be proud of. And as a boy, like I had like an interesting boy body. I was very lanky. I was very tall. For a boy, I was average height. As a girl, taller. I was never built or anything like that. I think the heaviest I ever weighed in my whole life was like 145, 147. And that was after I got out of like this preliminary, so my job sends us to this place where we develop physically for a couple months. And then we get to go off and do like, learn our trades, learn our jobs and stuff like that. And they weighed me there at the end, and I weighed 147, so I gained like 17 pounds in just muscle, because I was faster and I was stronger. I have since lost all that, because like I never really used it. It was pointless to develop, and it was just stupid. Sex drive. Everyone is kind of surprised whenever I tell them, like, yeah, my sex drive has not dropped at all. I am just in more control over it. So, like, if I can have it every day if need be. There's not, like, really a day where, like, I can't perform unless, like, something really happens. Because my sex drive is emotionally based, if I'm emotionally compromised that day, it usually kind of goes out the window unless that is resolved whenever I go to bed. And then I can perform and do my routine maintenance that I do to help maintain my length if I ever wanted like SRS. And that is essentially, because it's a muscle, it's essentially working that muscle. So yeah, now y'all know what I do. Yeah, the only reason I do that is because, like, if I were to get SRS, the length that you have becomes your depth whenever you have, like, SRS. So your male genitalia are inverted. They're not cut off. So, like, that whole phrase always, like, have you had like the snip or anything like that? Has it been cut off? Like, no, nothing. It's not really cut off. There are portions that are cut off, but it's not like it's not just that. It's inverted, and the vaginal canal is kind of created through that inversion, and it's pretty wild, honestly. I saw a 3D model of it being done, so there was not really any like blood or anything, and it was incredibly, like, graphic. I don't know. It didn't turn me away from SRS, but it definitely didn't make it more appealing, if that makes sense. For me, having SRS just wouldn't make me feel more feminine. It wouldn't align me more in my gender. I feel like it would only allow other people. I don't know. I feel like, how am I going to explain this? I feel like me getting SRS is mostly something for other people and less for me. My whole journey in being a transgender woman is for me. It's my mental health. It's my discovery process. It's me changing. SRS, I think, for me at least, would flip the tide. Now, there are people where it's like, yes, they look in the mirror, they see their male genitalia, and they're like, that shouldn't be there, that is wrong. And that's, in that case for them, that is 100% not true. As in, like, as an SRS would be for their mental health. For me, since I don't see that, it would not be for me. For me, it would just be like it's for everyone else to put me in a category that I should fit in regardless. That's how that feels for me. It has crossed my mind because, like, I have been curious, like, how is, like, intimacy or intercourse with it? But I don't think I would ever really, like, bone it. I feel like once, like, I have an orchiectomy or something like that, like, that's whenever my sex drive's gonna drop. That's when everything goes. And for me, it's more like, because you're still able to perform even after having an orchiectomy. It's just really different from what I understand. It's like, because the orchiectomy is the removal of the testicles, you are removing the primary source of testosterone. And cis women naturally produce testosterone. I think it's the ovaries that produce that for them. But it's considerably less. But your testosterone literally drops to zero after an orchiectomy. You actually have to take testosterone because your testosterone does factor into, like, your energy and stuff like that, as well as, like, your sex drive and stuff. It's a little different, and I don't mind having, like, my testicles and stuff. It's a little weird sometimes because, like, tucking's odd. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you know what tucking is. If you don't know what tucking is, basically, I may be saying this word wrong, but you have to take your testicles and you have to force them back up inside you into the inguinal canal, which is essentially where they were before they dropped. It's a little cavity in your pelvis, like somewhere around here. And then you take your member and you pull it back underneath you. And the tucker is like a garment. You can get them in, like, underwear or a thong. And it basically applies pressure here to kind of hold your testicles in place and hold your member where you've pulled it. And it's supposed to get rid of, like, any bulge or anything like that you may have. That way it gives a more feminine appearance, and you can wear more feminine things easier. Like you can wear bodysuits, you can wear like skinny jeans and stuff like that, female clothing, and there's not like this protrusion at your pelvis that shouldn't be there. For the longest time, like I didn't dress femininely because I couldn't afford a tucker. And I applied for one, never got one, up until like there was a sale going on. It was like a Gray Monday sale, and I bought like one for every day of the week. So that way I've got plenty. And I bought them in several different colors, so that way like if I got 2 nudes. I remember I got 2 nudes, 2 blacks, a red, and a white, and a pink. This way I could kind of mix and match between outfits and stuff like that. And in case I wanted to wear something super like risque. So I have worn a couple things on here that were in fact risque, and I think you could see the tucker. One of them I know you definitely could do the outfit. But that's kind of it, is I just never really, I just don't really want to for me. It's not something that's going to relieve my dysphoria, at least not at this moment. Me being tired. I do get tired. I stayed up all night last night, and I slept most of the day today. And I kind of plan to do the same thing again, just because I'm packing up and moving. I'm moving like 5 minutes away, so not very far. My voice, I've been trying to practice my voice a little bit on the phone, but we've been having issues, so I haven't really been able to practice. So I actually think my voice is sounding a little bit more masculine today, and I had an argument yesterday, so my voice is very rough today as well. I don't know, but I'm hoping that progress is being made. I would kind of like to be able to go to my very first video and look at like every video after and kind of hear the progression in like my voice. I kind of like to make the joke that like you have to do some impressions and like combine impressions to like get a feminine voice, which is kind of true. And I don't know, it's whenever I answer the phone I get like a really feminine voice, and I think it's kind of funny because my coworkers think it's funny because whenever they know I'm transgender and stuff like that, and they hear me talk as a boy all the time, and I don't really care. But whenever like I pick up the phone, it's like, hello, my name is Brianna, how can I help you? And stuff like that. And it's kind of wild because like my voice actually is a little bit significantly deeper. Honestly, oh shit. So this is gonna be my voice. This is kind of how I talk like throughout the day. I'm not trying at all to like modify my voice right now. But whenever like I'm trying to, I kind of like get a little bit softer, and I try and end like my sentences like on a high note. That way it's a little bit more feminine. Gosh, that's so weird to do. Oh, shoot. Let's get this walk out of the way. I think I still haven't heard anything from my job. I've been trying to contact them. They said they have been kind of slow because they're waiting on the Supreme Court to rule on the legality of removing all of the transgender people. And I actually met someone else who, they have a different job, but we work for the same place. And she had an orchiectomy, and she was significantly higher up than me, but she was very nice to speak to, and she was fine talking to me. And initially, whenever she told me like her position, I was like, uh-oh, this might not end well because I'm significantly under them in my job. But they were very kind about everything because we're in the same position, honestly. We're both being removed. We're both in this weird limbo area where we're just trying to make it through. We're trying to figure out our lives as our lives are being like figured out for us in a way. And once I do get removed, at the end of that month, I do plan to tell y'all exactly what my job was. There's been talk that they won't, like, remove us, but I don't think that they're really considering it. I think it's like, well, what if we didn't? Or what if we put them all in like the same area or something like that? I don't think that they're really talking about it. I think it's more like, this is where we're at. Once we remove them, this is where we're gonna be. So how are we gonna make this work? I think that's the extent of the conversation. They're not really looking into like what we've accomplished and stuff like that. I was one of the harder working people where I was, by far. It was acknowledged by people that rarely knew me. They knew how much I did and stuff like that, and they never but they never really understood exactly where all that came from. It'll make much more sense whenever I tell y'all exactly what I did and what all I accomplished. At this time now, I'm not allowed to say because I don't want to get in trouble for it. I don't know if they watch my videos. I know at least one person does that knows exactly what my job was. Still is right now, but for all intents and purposes was. And I'm kind of curious, if y'all want to take a shot in the dark and see and ask me what my job is, go for it. I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. But if you're right, you're going to have to be 100% right. And with that being said, I think that would be the end of this video. So I challenge y'all to, if you've made it this far, I challenge you to, in the comments, drop what you think my job is. I'm curious to see the answers. And with that being said, I think that's it. So this is Brianna Sinclair, signing off for her 65th week on HRT video. If you like my content, please like, comment, subscribe. Follow me over on my Discord, my Blue Sky, and my X account. I do want to expand into Twitter and TikTok and Facebook at some point. It's not yet. And with that being said, adios.